Hey folks, Martin here, and welcome back to the channel and one of my next print and play tutorials. And on the channel today, what we're going to learn is how to make a print and play card template in the Gutterfold format. So Gutterfold as opposed to traditional 9-card grid. And this Gutterfold format that I'm going to show you is going to have a border, a 1/4 inch border around each card. So that is the thing that I'm going to try to teach you and demo how to make for you today. And once again, you can do this in any image editor on any platform, Mac or Windows PC. I'm going to be using a Mac, and I'm going to be using an image editor called Pixelmator Pro, but you can use Photoshop, you can use GIMP, you can use insert name of image editor here. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to go to our image editor's file menu, and we want to create a new image. Now, the first thing we want to do, we're not actually going to start in the US letter full page yet. We're going to start with the card. And the cards we're going to create are poker size. Oh, and you know what? Let me get my mug out of the way here, put myself down in the corner here so that you can see what's happening and my face isn't blocking everything. All right. So once again, as I was saying, we're going to make poker-sized cards, which normally are 2.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. But because we want to put a 1/4 inch border around each card, then the cards we're going to make are going to be 2.75 inches wide and 3.75 inches tall. And as always, I will be working in 300 pixels per inch. Every single one of my images, every single one of my templates are always consistently in 300 pixels per inch so that I can predict what is the exact size of all the components I'm working with. All right, so we are creating this, and here is our card image with a 2.5 inch wide by 3.5 inch tall with 1/4 inch of border around the edges. So the total width is 2.75 inches and the total height is 3.75 inches. Next thing I want to do is I want to add corner crosshairs at each card corner at the 2.5 inch width mark and the 3.5 inch height mark. Okay? And in my last video, I showed you how I manually make corner crosshairs. So since I already made those for my last video and I have the file saved, I don't have to remake them in this video. I'll just go to File, Open Recent, and I'll open up that file called Card with Corner Crosshairs. And I'll put a link to that previous video on how to make a 9-card print and play template. If I'm doing my job right, it's going to appear somewhere here in the upper right, above my right shoulder. I'll also put a link to it in the video description below. All this YouTube stuff is very confusing. Okay, so I'm opening up this card with corner crosshairs file. And you'll notice that it already has, very conveniently, the 4 corner crosshairs, one at each corner of this card, which is poker size. So what I can do is I can actually go ahead and copy these and then go back to our slightly wider and slightly taller card and then paste the corner crosshairs in. So now you can see that we have corner crosshairs, exactly the height and width dimensions of a poker size card, while also giving space outside for our 1/4 inch border. And what I'll do is I'll go to my layers menu here and I will select all of the crosshairs because I know that I don't want to move them around anymore. They're exactly where I want them to be. I will merge them to make things simpler for me. And I'm just going to call these crosshairs. Nice and descriptive name. All right, so now we've got the background layer and then we've got the crosshairs in the front. Okay, this card image here is important. Oh, let's also save this card image. Let's call this card, and then let's call it 2.75 by 3.75 inches with poker corner crosshairs. Okay, it's a nice descriptive name. I like descriptive names. So that when I find the file again, the title tells me and everything I need to know to like remember what that image is supposed to be, or what's the content of that image. Because I work with so many images, if I don't name the title descriptively, I'll forget what that image was for. Okay, so we've got this. The other thing I want to do is I want to put an outline at the edge of the card, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So the easiest way for me to do that is to take my shape tool and then to use a rectangle shape, and I'll select the background layer, and I will place my rectangle shape right at the edges of this card. And I want to make sure over here on the right side of my screen, probably left side for you, I'm getting confused with the orientation here, is I want to turn on the stroke, and I want to give a 3 pixel width. And I also want to make the stroke not outline, but I want to make it dashed line. Okay, and this will all make sense in just a second once I bring this this card image into our US letter sheet, which we haven't created yet. But so far so good. This is where we are. This is what we're doing. Next thing I want to do is I want to create our US letter sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and create it. New, and the dimensions of a US letter sheet are 8.5 inches by width by 11 inches in height. I can also just click right here for US letter, and that automatically fills in. So Pixelmator Pro already has predefined kind of defaults for common paper sizes. So check if your image editor has that as well. And once again, we want to be working in 300 pixels per inch resolution. All right, so now we've got this guy. And one thing that I will tell you right now is that the best way to lay out, the most optimal way to lay out poker size cards in Gutterfold on a US letter sheet is to do it in landscape orientation, not portrait orientation as we have now. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go up to my image menu, and I'm going to rotate my image 90 degrees left or right, doesn't matter at this point, to make it in landscape orientation. So far so good. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go up to my ruler here for my horizontal, and I'm going to click and grab into my ruler, and I want to place it right at the dead center horizontal side of this image, this US letter image. And remember, these guides are non-printing, like I said in my last video. They're only there to help me align. So if this image that you see on here is 8.5 inches currently tall in portrait orientation, and this guide is at the halfway point, which is the 4.25 inches orientation. Okay, so we've got our US letter page. We've got it rotated to portrait orientation. We have a guide at the exact halfway mark. Now what we want to do is we want to go back to our card image that we have here, and we want to no, this is not it. This is our card image, and we want to select the corner crosshairs and the rectangle outline that we created. I want to copy those, go back to our US letter page, and we want to paste. All right, does that make sense? So far so good. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and save this file, and I'm going to call this Gutterfold template US letter. And I do want to apologize right now if you can hear doggy yelping noises outside my door. I kick them out. I put them outside my door while I am trying to record this video. So that yelping might be going on in the background. I hope that's not too distracting. Okay, back to our tutorial. So now we have a card image in the center, the dead center of our US letter page. And now what we want to do is we want to move it upward so that its bottom edge lines up with the center of the page. And I'm going to use my cursor keys, and I'm going to zoom in here so that I can see what I'm doing. Uh-oh. I don't know why not. That's not expected behavior. Let me go ahead and undo all of that stuff right now. Why did that not all move? All right, let's, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to merge these guys. I'm going to merge my rectangle and my corner crosshairs so that I am sure that everything will now move together when I use my cursor keys. So I've got that layer selected. Nope, not happening. Ah, I understand now. I have to switch my tool. Now this is all going to move as expected. Great. All right, look at that. So now we've got that guide there, and we can make sure that our card outline lines up with the bottom edge of our card outline lines up with the exact center that we created. All right, so now we've got one card, one card slot with the correct outline and with the correct corner crosshairs. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and duplicate this layer. Great, and now we're going to move it to the left, like so, using our cursor keys to have more control. All right, let's just do some fine grain adjustments here. Great, and then we're going to go back to that first card image, and we're going to duplicate that, and then move it to the right. All right, there you go. And so now what you have is 3 card slots on this US letter page. Each one is a poker-sized card slot with a 1/4 inch of border around each one. And we've got the top part. Now we're going to duplicate the top card slots, move them down so that we'll have them on the bottom as well. Because remember, in Gutterfold, the way that you produce a Gutterfold file is once you've got it printed, then you can fold the paper lengthwise down the middle so that the card fronts and the card backs line up perfectly. That's the idea. So we have copied our card slots here in the layers menu, and we're going to go ahead and duplicate those. And now that we've got them duplicated, we're going to use our cursor keys to move them down. All right, and let's zoom in so that we can be more accurate in terms of how we know when it's all lined up. All right, so now we have got our template, and I don't know why there's that kind of phantom line or dotted line showing up there. So the idea here is you've got these 6 slots, 3 for card fronts, 3 for card back, right? And so you can insert your cards in here and then print it out and then or print it to PDF. Either way, when you produce this, it's going to be a Gutterfold template. Gutterfold print and play template. But we're not done yet. So the next thing we want to do now that we've got our template here is we want to actually bring the cards in. So for that, I'm going to go back to that this earlier file that we were working with, the card with the corner crosshairs. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use this as a template for the size of our cards. Because the thing is, the cards that I'm going to be demoing today are all poker size, 2.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. And we have to make them bigger. We have to make them 2.75 inches wide by 3.75 inches tall. So let's go ahead. And the cards that I'm going to be using today are my AI cards for an automa that I made for the game Little Town. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab 3 of my AI cards. I'm going to bring them into this file, and they all come in as a separate layer. So I'll turn off the layers for the other 2 images. I'm working with this first one. So you'll notice that currently it is the size of a poker size card. I want to actually make it bigger. So I'll grab my selection tool and I will grab the handles at either side of the card to make it bigger, to make it fill all the space. But then you can still see the corner crosshairs where you're going to cut. So the idea here is that we've made the card bigger than it needs to be so that when you go ahead and cut it, there's not the chance of having like white slivers at the edges because of misalignment. So basically, the point of putting the 1/4 inch border around each card and extending the borders, the edges of each card, is to give you allowance for when you print this out, and then if there's any kind of misalignment between front and back, it won't be obvious. All right, so now that we've got this card and we've extended its boundaries to the edge of this image that is 2.75 inches wide by 3.75 inches tall, we're going to go ahead and go to the edit menu. We're going to select all, and then we're going to go and copy. And usually I do all of these things with keyboard shortcuts, but I'm intentionally trying to show off what all of my movements and actions. So I've copied this. Now I'm going to go to our US letter page and I'm going to paste this card image, and now it should be exactly the right size to be able to fit right into one of these slots. Right, and then we're going to zoom in and make sure that the card is right smack dab inside the slot and that there's no white space. All right, got that. Now we're going to do that 2 more times for the other cards in our for the 2 other cards. So we've done this one. We'll turn that off. We'll turn on the card in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and deselect the selection that I had made. I'm going to make the card bigger like this, grabbing those handles once again. I'm going to go ahead and select all. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back to our US letter page and I'm going to paste. All right, we're almost there. We're almost done. That one seems to have gone in pretty well. Just a little bit of adjustment. Okay, we got one more to do. So we're going to go back to that card template, turn off that layer. We're going to turn on the other card layer. Once again, I want to go ahead and deselect things for now. Use these handles to make the card image bigger. Extend the edges of the card all the way to the end of the image. Do a select all and then copy that layer, making sure that that layer is selected, otherwise you're copying something else. So always make sure that the layer you want to copy, the image layer that you want to copy, is the one that's selected. That's burned me a couple of times as well. And we're going to go ahead and paste that card image here. And then move things around, make sure that things are exactly in the center of this outline that we've created for it. Great. All right, we've got the card fronts in our template. Now we have to put in the card backs, and so let me go ahead and do that right now. Let me go back to this guy and go back to here, and I'm going to bring in the card back for the AI card and put it in a new layer. That seems to be a pretty big file, so I'm going to make it the size of our template. All right. And then I'm going to once again select all, copy, move back to, all right. So now you'll notice that this guy is in portrait orientation with the top of it facing that way. But if we go back here to our template, it needs to go into these spaces at the bottom, which are kind of oriented facing the top, facing downward, upside down, if you will. But that's no problem, because what we can do is we can rotate our image 180 degrees. If we go here, if I go to my image menu, rotate 180 degrees, now I can put in my card back image, and it's going to be right way up. And I can do the exact same thing that I did to the card fronts, just making sure that everything, the card is right inside, get out of here, Netflix, right inside of our grid here. And then the cool thing about the card front, the card back rather, is that now that I've got the one layer in here, I can duplicate that layer, because it's going to be the exact same thing. It's the same card back for all of these other cards, all of these AI cards. Great. And then I will select the middle layer, duplicate that, and then move that little layer, that image, and just make sure with my cursor keys that it is perfectly inside of the grid. All right, now we are going to, let me go ahead and rotate this image one more time, 90 degrees right. And now you can see, now the master plan begins to unfold, right? Is that we have created a US letter page with a Gutterfold print and play card template. And you've got the 3 card fronts on the left side of the image. You've got the 3 card backs on the right side of the image. So if we were to go ahead and print this right now, that's what it would print out, and it would go ahead, and then once it prints out, then you can go ahead and print it to say cardstock, and then you could then, once it's printed, put some glue on the back, fold it right down the lengthwise center of the page, and then your card fronts and your card backs would align, and you've got that nice 1/4 inch border around each card to give you that that buffer zone, that allowance for when you cut, that your backs and fronts are not going to have the unsightly white lines at the edges, because we took care to make sure that these cards were bigger than the poker size that we need to be. So you would just cut along the corner crosshairs after you've glued the front and the back together. So let me go ahead and bring myself back up to the center of the screen here. I hope that this quick tutorial of how to make a Gutterfold print and play template in US letter has been helpful to you in terms of when you think about, how do I make a template for my print and play file that I've created. Let's say for my print and play game, say I'm prototyping a game and I want to provide it in Gutterfold format. I hope that this video helps you out. Last thing I'll mention is that everything that I've shown you here, even though I was working with a US letter size page, is absolutely transferable to if you were working with an A4 size page. The nice thing about A4 is that it is slightly longer or taller than a US letter page, which means you can actually fit 4 poker size cards on an A4 letter page instead of just 3, as we can see here on the US letter. So in a sense, I prefer actually to work in A4 rather than US letter, because I can fit more cards on the page. All right, that is the end of this particular tutorial. I hope that it's been useful to you. Until next time, this has been Martin. Thanks for watching.